The afternoon sun cast long, lazy shadows across the quiet Texas suburb. Birds chirped in the trees, children played in nearby yards, and the scent of freshly cut grass lingered in the air. But beneath the calm, a storm of panic was about to erupt. In the fenced backyard of a small brick home on Maple Street, 3-year-old Lily wandered a few steps too far from the sliding glass door, mesmerized by a butterfly that flitted just beyond her reach. Her tiny fingers reached for it, and in a blink, she stepped through a gap in the fence she had discovered while playing moments before. Inside, her mother, Rachel, was in the kitchen, washing dishes, humming softly to herself, unaware that Lily had slipped outside. She turned toward the backyard, just in time to see the little girl disappear around the corner of the house. Her heart leaped into her throat. "Lily!" She screamed, running into the yard. Panic surged through her chest as she scanned every corner. The backyard was empty. The butterfly, long gone, seemed cruel in its freedom. Rachel's voice rose in desperation, calling her daughter's name again and again. Her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, emerged from her own yard after hearing the cries. "What happened?" she asked, rushing over. "She's gone. Lily's gone," Rachel sobbed, pointing toward the side gate that had been carelessly latched. Mrs. Thompson grabbed her phone and dialed 911. "Please," she urged the dispatcher. "You have to send someone immediately. There's a little girl missing." Within minutes, flashing red and blue lights appeared at the end of the street. Officer Ramirez, a seasoned canine handler with the local police department, jumped out of the patrol car, leash in hand. Behind him, Rex, a large German shepherd with alert amber eyes, sniffed the air. He had been on dozens of search and rescue missions, his instincts honed to perfection. Ramirez quickly explained the situation. A 3-year-old child was missing in the neighborhood, last seen near her backyard, and the clock was ticking. Rex wasted no time. His paws padded over the grass as he began sniffing the air, nose low, tail stiff. Officer Ramirez followed, keeping a watchful eye on his partner. The community gathered at the edges of the street, whispering prayers, their faces etched with concern. Children peered from windows, not understanding the gravity, but sensing the tension. Every second that passed seemed to stretch into eternity, the suburban afternoon suddenly heavy with fear. The search led them down narrow alleys and along the edges of neighboring yards. Every possible hiding spot was examined, every rustling bush inspected. And then Rex froze, ears pricked, body tense. His nose twitched violently, and a low growl rumbled in his throat. Not aggressive, but focused, alert. Officer Ramirez followed the line of Rex's gaze, and there, tucked behind a bush near the corner of the neighbor's yard, was Lily. Her small body shivered, her tiny hands clutching the leaves around her. She had been hiding, unsure of how to respond when she had ventured out. "Found her," Ramirez called, relief flooding his voice. He knelt down, gently scooping Lily into his arms while she clung to him, still wide-eyed with fear. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now," he murmured. Rex sat calmly nearby, tongue lolling, tail wagging slowly, as if acknowledging his success. Tears streamed down Rachel's face as she ran forward, embracing her daughter, thanking the officers and Rex in a trembling voice. "Thank you. Thank you so much," she whispered, holding both her children close. For a moment, the chaos of the day fell away. Neighbors exhaled, some hugging one another in relief. The butterfly that had caused so much worry had long since disappeared, but its brief flight had triggered a series of events that left the entire community shaken. Rachel looked down at Lily, whose small face was streaked with tears and dirt, and whispered, "I'm so sorry, my love. I should have been watching." Lily, in her own innocent way, reached for Rex's paw, patting it gently. Even at 3, She seemed to understand the dog had helped her, and that tiny gesture captured the hearts of everyone watching. Officer Ramirez gently explained to Rachel that while the situation had been terrifying, it was over now. Rex did exactly what he was trained to do, he said. He's one of the best canines south in the department, and he's saved more than one child from dangerous situations. Rachel nodded, still clutching Lily tightly, understanding, but also overwhelmed by the gratitude she felt for this silent, furry hero. Word of the incident spread quickly. Neighbors began sharing stories of other times. Rex had helped in emergencies, but this event felt different. There was something almost magical in the way Lily had instinctively gravitated toward the dog after such a frightening experience. It was as if she knew, even at 3, that Rex was more than a trained officer. He was a guardian. And in that brief moment of connection, both child and dog had formed a bond that would be remembered far beyond the boundaries of that quiet neighborhood. As the day wore on, the police filed their report, and neighbors returned to their routines, though whispers of the little girl and the hero dog lingered in every conversation. Rachel tucked Lily into bed that evening, holding her a little longer than usual. "You are so brave," she said softly, brushing her daughter's hair. Lily looked up, eyes wide and honest, and whispered, "Rex helped me. Mommy, he's nice." Rachel smiled through her tears, realizing that the story of survival, trust, and the unspoken bond between human and dog was only beginning. That night, Officer Ramirez sat with Rex at the police station, reviewing the day's events. He scratched behind Rex's ears, murmuring, "Good job, boy. You kept her safe." Rex leaned into the touch, the kind of calm satisfaction only a working dog can exhibit. Ramirez knew this wasn't just a story of a child wandering off. It was the start of something bigger. A court case might come, questions might be asked, but for now, in that quiet station, heroism and innocence had met, and no one could forget it. The following days would bring interviews, local news coverage, and eventually, a courthouse filled with anticipation, but that would come later. For now, the story was simple. A child had wandered, a dog had found her, and in between, the unspoken connection of trust and courage had formed. And in that small Texas suburb, every parent, neighbor, and officer knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. A story of bravery that began in a backyard and would echo far beyond it. Weeks passed since the terrifying afternoon on Maple Street, but the memory of that day lingered in the minds of all involved. For Lily's parents, Rachel and Tom, it had been an emotional roller coaster, a reminder of how quickly life could shift in an instant. While the child was safe and unharmed, the city had decided to review the incident, not as a criminal matter, but as a minor safety case, a procedural check to ensure protocols were followed. Yet the very idea of bringing a 3-year-old and a police dog into a courtroom ignited curiosity across the small town. On the morning of the hearing, the courthouse buzzed with activity. Reporters huddled in corners, cameras perched on tripods, microphones at the ready. Local residents had come out of curiosity, whispering among themselves about the little girl and the hero dog. Law students lingered near the benches, fascinated by the unusual scenario. For a case that seemed minor on paper, the courtroom was anything but ordinary. Inside, Judge Thompson presided with his usual stern authority. He had seen hundreds of cases in his 30 years on the bench, yet he couldn't recall ever presiding over a hearing involving a toddler and a working police dog as the central figures. His gavel hit the bench, echoing through the room. "Order in the court," he commanded, scanning the audience. "We will conduct this hearing with decorum, but I understand there may be unusual elements today. Let us proceed." Rex, the German shepherd, sat attentively beside his handler, Officer Ramirez. The dog's posture was rigid, but calm, ears pricked, eyes alert. He had accompanied Ramirez on countless missions, but this was different. There were people everywhere, some moving, some whispering, lights flashing from cameras. It was a strange environment, even for a seasoned canine. Yet Rex remained steady, trained to focus, his instincts unwavering. Lily, meanwhile, clung to her mother's hand as they entered the courtroom. Her wide, curious eyes took in the rows of seats, the elevated bench, and the strange, imposing figure of Judge Thompson. She had been told she could observe, perhaps speak if asked, but the environment was foreign and intimidating. Rachel knelt to whisper reassurance in her daughter's ear. "Just watch, my love. You're safe." Lily nodded, though a nervous quiver ran through her small frame. The prosecution called Officer Ramirez to the stand first. He spoke clearly, explaining the incident in detail, how Lily had wandered off, the search that ensued, and Rex's pivotal role in finding her. "Rex followed Lily's scent quickly," Ramirez said, his voice firm yet warm. "Within minutes, we located her hiding behind a bush. She was unharmed, though understandably frightened. His training and focus were critical in ensuring her safety." Murmurs of approval and fascination ran through the audience. When asked if the toddler would testify, Judge Thompson hesitated. He wasn't sure how a 3-year-old could provide meaningful testimony, yet something told him that the story wasn't complete without her voice. After a brief consultation with the lawyers, he agreed to have Lily approach Rex and speak to him directly, under careful supervision. The room fell silent, the anticipation nearly tangible. This was unprecedented, and everyone understood it. Officer Ramirez gently guided Lily to the front of the courtroom. She hesitated for a moment, glancing up at her mother, then down at the polished wooden floor. Her small hand found Ramirez's, and he offered a reassuring squeeze. Then, in a move that stunned everyone, she walked not to the witness stand, but directly toward Rex. Gasps rippled through the room. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled furiously, and even Judge Thompson leaned forward in his chair. This wasn't a routine proceeding anymore. It was becoming something extraordinary. Lily reached Rex and touched his muzzle softly. The dog remained still, calm, his eyes focused on the little girl. "Thank you, Rex," she said, her voice small but clear. "You found me." I was scared. A hush fell over the courtroom. The simplicity of her words carried immense weight. Hardened officers blinked back tears, lawyers exchanged glances, and even the judge's stern expression softened. In that brief exchange, a 3-year-old conveyed gratitude, trust, and understanding far beyond her years. Rachel and Tom's eyes welled with tears. They had known their daughter was brave, but seeing her articulate her emotions, even to a dog, in front of a room full of strangers, left them overwhelmed. They whispered encouragement, rushing away tears, while others in the audience fought to maintain composure. The moment had transcended legal procedure. It was human, raw, real. Officer Ramirez watched, pride swelling in his chest. He knew Rex had performed perfectly, but he hadn't anticipated the emotional gravity of this scene. The dog had not only located a missing child, but had also facilitated a moment of healing, a bridge of trust that connected everyone present. Even the media present felt it. They were no longer reporting a routine safety case, but a story of heroism, innocence, and the profound bond between a child and a dog. The judge allowed Lily's brief interaction to continue, understanding that this was part of the child's natural response, and could offer insight into the psychological impact of the incident. She babbled a few more words, pointing to the bush where she had hidden, explaining how she had been frightened. "I thought I couldn't get out. But Rex helped me," she said. Each word was met with silent admiration. The courtroom was captivated by her honesty, vulnerability, and courage. Even the defense attorney, initially skeptical of the entire setup, was moved. They had anticipated a procedural review, boring testimony, routine legal discussion, but instead, they were witnessing something profound. A toddler had reminded an entire room of people, judges, officers, reporters, what it meant to be human, grateful, fearful, brave, and connected. Outside the courtroom, word of Lily's interaction with Rex spread quickly. Local news crews scrambled to get statements from neighbors and officers. Social media buzzed with clips of the courtroom scene, viewers mesmerized by the sight of a tiny girl speaking to a large German shepherd with such understanding. The story went viral, not because of crime or controversy, but because of empathy, trust, and the unexpected heroism of a four-legged officer. Inside, the proceedings resumed, but the mood had shifted. The courtroom, once formal and tense, was now filled with emotion, wonder, and reflection. Judge Thompson took careful notes. Lawyers approached their questions with gentler tones, and Officer Ramirez remained a calm anchor, ensuring Rex remained composed. The bond between Lily and Rex had not only provided closure to a frightening incident, but had created a profound, emotional moment that no one would soon forget. By the end of the morning session, everyone in that courtroom understood something deeper. This case was not just about a child's safety. It was about trust, compassion, and the extraordinary connections that can occur between humans and animals. Lily's bravery, Rex's professionalism, and the community's support were interwoven in a story that transcended the legal definitions on paper. As the courtroom emptied, Rachel knelt beside Lily, brushing her hair from her eyes. "You were amazing," she whispered. Lily smiled shyly, patting Rex once more before Officer Ramirez led him back to his station. The tiny girl had spoken words no one expected, words that touched hearts and reminded everyone present that heroism and innocence can manifest in the smallest voices and in the unlikeliest of heroes. And as they left the courthouse, the murmurs of admiration and wonder followed them. The city would talk about this day for weeks, not because of the law, but because of a tiny child, a police dog, and a moment of connection that no one, including the hardened courtroom veterans, was prepared for. The courtroom had fallen into a hush that was almost reverent. The usual shuffle of papers and low murmurs of lawyers were replaced by the quiet anticipation of everyone present. Cameras clicked softly, capturing a scene no one had expected: a 3-year-old child, Lily, standing before a seasoned canine officer, her small hands barely reaching the thick fur of Rex's muzzle. Officer Ramirez crouched beside her, keeping a reassuring hand on her back, while Judge Thompson observed with a mixture of curiosity and awe. No one knew how this moment would unfold. Lily tilted her head, blinking up at Rex. The German shepherd's amber eyes locked onto hers, steady and unwavering. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath, as if aware that something extraordinary was about to occur. "Rex," Lily began, her voice small but clear. "I was scared. I didn't know where to go. I was all alone." She reached up, brushing her fingers along Rex's head. The dog leaned slightly into her touch, as if acknowledging both her fear and her courage. Officer Ramirez whispered gently, "Take your time, Lily. Tell him what happened." Lily nodded and took a deep breath, her small chest rising and falling. "I tried to hide. I thought nobody could find me. But you found me. You kept me safe." Her words were simple, yet their clarity stunned the courtroom. Lawyers paused mid-note, reporters' pens hovered in the air, and even Judge Thompson's normally stoic face softened. The combination of innocence and profound gratitude radiating from the child was disarming. The audience leaned forward in their seats. Some reached for tissues, quietly dabbing tears, while others whispered softly to one another, sharing the awe of the moment. Lily continued, her tone more confident now. "I was lonely, and you were brave. You sniffed me out and made sure I was okay. I love you, Rex." The words hung in the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. The idea that a toddler could express such clear appreciation for a dog's heroism seemed almost miraculous. Rex remained calm, his ears slightly tilted, tail resting, but occasionally giving a soft wag. Officer Ramirez patted his side quietly, his eyes glistening with pride. The handler had trained Rex for countless high-pressure situations, but nothing could have prepared him for this kind of courtroom display. The connection between Lily and Rex was palpable, bridging the worlds of innocence and duty, fear and trust, child and animal. Rachel and Tom's hands trembled as they watched. Tears streamed down their faces. They had feared for Lily's safety just weeks ago, and now, seeing her speak openly to the dog who had saved her, their hearts swelled with both relief and awe. They whispered words of encouragement, brushing her hair back and letting her know she had everyone's attention. Their tiny daughter had become the emotional heart of the courtroom, capturing a truth that went beyond legal procedures. Judge Thompson leaned forward slightly, intrigued. "I have never witnessed anything like this," he murmured to the clerk beside him. "This is extraordinary." He allowed the moment to continue, knowing that halting it would rob everyone present of an authentic display of trust, courage, and gratitude. For once, the court became a space not just for adjudication, but for human and canine connection. Lily paused and looked up at the judge. "He's my hero," she said softly. The words, simple as they were, carried weight that no legal argument could rival. The courtroom was silent, yet the energy in the room was electric. Reporters scribbled furiously, aware they were witnessing a story that would spread far beyond the courthouse walls. Adults were learning from a child what it meant to be brave, to trust, and to express gratitude with clarity and innocence. Officer Ramirez knelt beside her again. "Would you like to show Rex where you were hiding?" he asked quietly. Lily nodded and walked toward the side of the courtroom, where a small model of the yard had been set up for demonstrative purposes. She pointed to the corner where the bush had been. "I hid here," she said, eyes wide. "I was scared, but I waited. And then Rex came. He sniffed and found me. I was safe because of him." The courtroom felt a collective exhale, the tension of previous weeks melting into awe and admiration. Even the lawyers, trained to argue and question, found themselves moved. The defense attorney, usually cool and analytical, whispered to a colleague, "I didn't expect this to be so powerful." It wasn't about guilt, evidence, or procedure anymore. This was about empathy, courage, and the extraordinary ability of a dog to impact human life. The prosecution took notes, but their demeanor had softened, acknowledging that the story unfolding was bigger than any legal argument. Lily's words continued, growing in confidence. "I was lonely," she said, "and I didn't know what to do. I cried a little. And Rex came. He made me feel safe. Thank you for being my friend." Her tiny fingers patted Rex's head gently. Even the hardened courthouse staff, used to difficult and emotionally detached proceedings, found themselves wiping away tears. The simple, genuine interaction reminded everyone of the power of trust, courage, and human, or in this case, animal connection. Rachel leaned forward, whispering, "You're doing amazing, Lily." Lily smiled shyly, but didn't break focus. She knelt briefly, hugging Rex's neck. The courtroom seemed suspended in time, all eyes fixed on the tender moment between child and dog. No one spoke. No one moved. The usual hum of the courthouse was replaced by a reverent silence, the kind that accompanies events that transcend everyday life. As the interaction concluded, Judge Thompson addressed the courtroom. "While this may be unconventional," he said, "it has been enlightening to witness the bond between this child and a trained officer. It is a reminder that heroism can come in many forms, and that courage is not defined by age. The words resonated deeply with everyone present. What had begun as a minor procedural review had transformed into a profound lesson on bravery, compassion, and trust. Officer Ramirez gently lifted Lily back toward her mother, allowing Rex to return to his seated position. Lily gave one last small pat on his side. "Bye, Rex. Thank you," she whispered. The dog's calm gaze met hers, a silent acknowledgement of their bond. For a 3-year-old and a seasoned canine, it was a moment of mutual respect, understanding, and gratitude, one that would be remembered long after the courtroom emptied. Outside, whispers turned into murmurs, and murmurs turned into a story that spread through the city like wildfire. News crews captured every angle, neighbors retold the story with amazement, and social media buzzed with images and transcripts of Lily's words. It wasn't just the courage of the child or the skill of the dog, it was the undeniable human element, the emotional truth that had transformed an ordinary courthouse into a space of inspiration. By the time the courtroom adjourned for lunch, the atmosphere had shifted completely. What had started as a simple procedural review had become a celebration of bravery, empathy, and the extraordinary bond between a child and her canine hero. Officers and staff lingered, reluctant to let the moment end. The press outside speculated about the impact the story would have nationwide, while residents of the small Texas suburb reflected quietly on how something so simple, a child speaking to a dog, could move an entire community. As Lily left the courtroom, holding her mother's hand, she glanced back at Rex, a tiny smile lighting her face. For her, the day was about reassurance, gratitude, and connection. For the adults around her, it was a lesson in humility, humanity, and the sometimes overlooked power of innocence. Even in a place defined by rules, procedures, and structure, the pure courage of a 3-year-old girl and the unwavering loyalty of a dog reminded everyone present that moments of true heroism and emotional truth could appear in the most unexpected of places. The moment Lily spoke to Rex in the courtroom sent waves of emotion rippling through everyone present. Reporters, initially poised with pens and cameras, lowered their equipment, unable to keep up with the raw sincerity unfolding before them. Lawyers exchanged glances, some shaking their heads in disbelief, as if the simple honesty of a child's words had dismantled months of formal procedure. Officer Ramirez, ever professional, kept a firm hold on Rex's leash, but couldn't hide the pride that shone in his eyes. Even Judge Thompson, usually stoic and unreadable, sat back, his stern expression softening as he absorbed the scene. Lily's parents, Rachel and Tom, felt a mixture of relief and astonishment. Their daughter, small and vulnerable, had found a voice far greater than her size suggested. "I don't know how she does it," Rachel whispered, holding her husband's hand tightly. "She's only 3, yet she spoke with more clarity than I could muster in front of this courtroom." Tears blurred her vision as she glanced down at Lily, who now sat quietly beside Rex, her tiny fingers brushing the dog's fur. Officer Ramirez watched the interaction carefully. Years of training had taught him to anticipate every possible reaction, but nothing in his career could have prepared him for the impact of a child expressing gratitude and bravery in such an open, unfiltered way. He noted the subtle calming signals Rex displayed, the soft blinking, relaxed tail, and lowered ears, which told him the dog understood the emotional weight of the moment. Together, child and dog had created a connection so profound it transcended words, legal boundaries, and even age. The courtroom, once filled with the hum of legal proceedings and whispered conversations, now felt almost sacred. People leaned forward in their seats, eyes wide, hearts racing, as if witnessing a miracle in the most ordinary of places. Lawyers who had come prepared to debate procedure found themselves caught in a shared moment of awe. Reporters scribbled notes furiously, realizing this story was far bigger than a procedural review. It was about courage, empathy, and the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. As Lily spoke more, recounting how she had been frightened and alone, the courtroom fell into an almost reverent silence. "I didn't know what to do," she said softly. "I was hiding, and I was scared. But then Rex came. He made me feel safe." Her words, though simple, carried layers of emotion. The fear she had experienced, the relief of being found, and the gratitude for the dog who had saved her were all there, unmistakable in her tone and gestures. Rachel and Tom exchanged a glance, both fighting to remain composed. For weeks, they had worried about their daughter's reaction to the courtroom environment, fearing it might trigger anxiety or fear. Instead, Lily had flourished, finding strength in Rex's presence. They whispered encouragement, brushing her hair back and reassuring her. Every word she spoke reinforced the lessons of trust and bravery they had been trying to instill. This was beyond parenting. It was witnessing a profound human-animal bond in real time. Even Judge Thompson found himself moved. He had presided over thousands of cases in his career, yet few had left a mark on him like this one. "This is extraordinary," he murmured to his clerk. "We are witnessing bravery, gratitude, and trust manifest in ways that no textbook could ever explain." His tone carried not just professional acknowledgement, but genuine emotion. The courtroom was no longer a place solely of law. It had become a stage for human courage, innocence, and connection. Outside the courtroom, the story was already spreading. News crews captured the moments, editing short clips for evening broadcasts. Social media buzzed with transcripts of Lily's words, video snippets of her gentle pats on Rex's head, and photos of her standing with the dog. The city quickly became captivated, not by crime or controversy, but by a tale of heroism, trust, and empathy. Citizens were inspired by the courage of a toddler and the loyalty of a dog, reflecting on the values often overlooked in daily life. The courtroom staff, often desensitized to emotional displays, found themselves affected as well. Clerks wiped away tears, bailiffs adjusted their posture to hide emotion, and even the judge's assistants were caught off guard by the depth of feeling generated by such a simple, genuine interaction. They had come to witness a procedural review, but instead, they had seen a lesson in humanity unfold. Lawyers began to recognize the potential implications of this emotional display. While Lily's words were not legally binding, they offered insight into the psychological impact of Rex's actions. A child had articulated feelings of fear, relief, and trust in a manner that illuminated the importance of empathy and emotional intelligence. It became clear that even procedural hearings could carry moments of profound human insight, especially when involving extraordinary circumstances like this one. Officer Ramirez and Rex remained at the center of it all, a quiet anchor in the midst of emotional turmoil. The dog's calm composure reminded everyone that heroism does not always roar. Sometimes it acts with quiet, consistent focus. Ramirez reflected on the countless missions he had undertaken with Rex, each one vital, but this one uniquely moving. Here, the stakes were measured not just in success or failure, but in the emotional resonance of a life touched and a trust forged. By the time the morning session ended, the courtroom had transformed. It was no longer just a space for legal procedure. It had become a place where courage, innocence, and loyalty converged. Lily had spoken, Rex had responded, and everyone present had witnessed the power of a bond that transcended words. People left their seats slowly, still discussing the incredible interaction, each carrying the lesson in their hearts. Rachel knelt to whisper to Lily as they walked toward the exit. "You were amazing," she said, brushing her daughter's hair back. Lily smiled, her confidence boosted by Rex's silent encouragement. "I just told Rex how I felt," she said. Her words were innocent, yet profound, showing that even at 3, she had understood the value of gratitude, trust, and acknowledgement. Officer Ramirez followed, keeping Rex close. The dog's calm presence had steadied Lily in a way nothing else could. Ramirez reflected on the unique partnership he shared with Rex, not just in the line of duty, but in moments of emotional connection that no training manual could replicate. He knew this story would resonate beyond the courtroom, beyond the city, even reaching others who had never encountered such a bond firsthand. Outside, the press swarmed the courthouse. People who had waited hours were eager to hear first-hand accounts of the extraordinary event. The story spread like wildfire, not because of legal precedent, but because of human emotion. A 3-year-old child speaking directly to a dog who had saved her. A moment that captured the hearts of an entire community. The tale would be recounted in neighborhoods, schools, and offices, inspiring reflection on the courage found in small voices and the profound influence of animals on human lives. As the courthouse emptied, the reverberations continued. People lingered, reluctant to leave behind the warmth and awe of the moment. Conversations centered not on the procedural details, but on the emotions stirred by Lily's bravery, Rex's calm dedication, and the undeniable power of trust and connection. A simple act of gratitude had transformed a routine hearing into a moment of collective human awareness, leaving everyone forever changed. That evening, Rachel tucked Lily into bed. Her tiny hands rested gently on Rex's collar, a stuffed toy Rex replica sitting on the nightstand as a reminder of the day. "You were so brave," Rachel whispered. Lily smiled sleepily. "Rex is my hero," she murmured. The words, spoken softly in the quiet of her bedroom, mirrored the moment that had captivated a courtroom and a community alike. Heroism, compassion, and courage had been displayed in the most unexpected way, a reminder that even the smallest voices can echo far beyond their size. News of Lily and Rex spread quickly beyond the courthouse walls. By the next morning, the story had dominated local news broadcasts, and social media buzzed with videos of the 3-year-old speaking directly to the German shepherd who had saved her. Clips of her small hands patting Rex's head and her words of gratitude went viral. Residents shared the story widely, each retelling infused with awe at the bravery and innocence of a child and the steadfast loyalty of a police dog. The tale resonated deeply, reminding people of the quiet heroism that often goes unnoticed in daily life. In neighborhoods across the city, parents recounted the story to their children, emphasizing lessons of bravery, trust, and gratitude. Schools invited local police officers to speak about safety and the importance of animals in community work, highlighting Rex as an example of teamwork and dedication. Discussions of human-animal bonds became common in classrooms, inspiring children to understand empathy and the responsibility that comes with caring for others. Lily's story had moved from a courtroom to the hearts of an entire city, bridging gaps between law enforcement, families, and the community. Local businesses joined in as well, showing support for the K9 unit. Dog toy companies donated supplies, bakeries sent treats, and nearby pet stores hosted fundraisers for Rex and other police dogs. The department received an influx of letters from residents expressing gratitude for their work, and donations for K9 units began to pour in. Officer Ramirez, usually reserved, was overwhelmed by the attention, realizing that the bond between Lily and Rex had created a ripple effect that touched far more people than he could have imagined. Community members also organized a small public ceremony to honor Rex's heroism. Local officials presented him with a medal, pinned carefully to his K9 vest, while Lily watched with wide-eyed admiration. Parents and children cheered, and neighbors offered heartfelt congratulations. Rachel and Tom stood nearby, holding Lily close as their daughter shyly waved to Rex. The ceremony celebrated not only the dog's bravery, but also the child's courage, symbolizing the interconnectedness of safety, empathy, and community support. Psychologists and child development experts were invited to comment on the event. They highlighted the positive impact of human-animal interaction in crisis situations, noting that a child like Lily could benefit immensely from the emotional support provided by a calm, trained dog. Articles and interviews emphasized how animals could help children process fear and trauma, reinforcing trust and resilience. Parents everywhere reflected on the story, reconsidering how they approach safety and emotional growth in their own homes. Beyond the city, the story began reaching national media outlets. News anchors marveled at the simple yet profound act of gratitude from a toddler to a police dog. Viewers were captivated by the images of Lily's innocence and Rex's steady, reassuring presence. The narrative emphasized heroism, community, and the extraordinary ways that courage and compassion manifest in everyday life. Social media hashtags like #HeroDog and #LittleHero trended, and communities across the country shared similar stories of children and animals forming life-changing bonds. Schools took particular interest. Programs began encouraging children to learn about pets, empathy, and civic responsibility. Teachers shared Lily's story and lessons about kindness, courage, and respect. Children discussed how small acts of bravery could make a big difference, and many were inspired to support local canine units through letters, donations, or volunteer programs. The ripple effect of a single afternoon in a backyard had now reached classrooms, inspiring a generation to understand that heroism comes in many forms, from four-legged officers to tiny voices with courage to speak. The city's police department felt an unexpected morale boost. Officers reported higher engagement and renewed purpose in their work, motivated by the public's appreciation. Officer Ramirez noticed that Rex seemed to carry himself with even more confidence, perhaps sensing the recognition and admiration he had earned. The incident became a training story within the department, used to teach new canine handlers about the profound, emotional connections that could develop between officers, their dogs, and the community they serve. Meanwhile, Rachel and Tom watched as their daughter became a symbol of bravery and innocence. Their initial fear and anxiety about Lily's safety had transformed into pride and gratitude. They realized that the incident was more than a frightening event. It was a lesson in empathy, resilience, and the importance of community support. The parents encouraged Lily's natural connection with animals, allowing her to visit the K9 unit regularly. Each visit reinforced her trust, bravery, and understanding of responsibility, shaping her young mind in ways no parent could have anticipated. Neighborhood children became particularly enamored with the story. They often reenacted scenes from the day Lily wandered into the backyard, imagining themselves as rescuers or as Rex, the brave police dog. Games and storytelling incorporated lessons about safety, courage, and the importance of helping others. The event had not only captured attention, but had also become a teaching tool for empathy and moral growth, showing that even small, seemingly ordinary actions could have profound effects on those around them. Months after the initial incident, Lily's story continued to inspire. Fundraisers for the K9 unit remained steady. Schools continued teaching lessons drawn from the event, and the media occasionally revisited the tale as a shining example of community cohesion and courage. People reflected on how a single afternoon of fear, trust, and bravery could transform an entire community, leaving a lasting imprint on the hearts and minds of adults and children alike. The city had learned an unexpected lesson. Heroism is not always measured in grand gestures or high-profile rescues. Sometimes it comes in the form of a 3-year-old speaking directly to a police dog, expressing gratitude, fear, and trust in a way that touches every person who witnesses it. And sometimes heroism is quiet, steadfast, and furry, embodied in the calm gaze of a dog trained to protect and serve. Together, Lily and Rex had shown the city the extraordinary power of connection, empathy, and courage. In the weeks that followed, Lily often returned to the K-9 unit, bringing small treats and her bright smile. Rex greeted her with calm excitement, tail wagging slightly, as if acknowledging their unique bond. Officer Ramirez observed these interactions with quiet pride, knowing that the moments shared between child and dog were teaching lessons that could never be fully measured in legal terms or statistics. They were life lessons, emotional truths, and reminders of the goodness that could exist even in the midst of fear and uncertainty. Through every visit, every pat, and every whispered word, Lily and Rex inspired everyone around them. Teachers, parents, police officers, and neighbors came to understand that courage, trust, and empathy could manifest in the most unexpected places and through the most unexpected heroes. In a world often preoccupied with headlines of conflict and fear, this simple story of a child and a dog reminded everyone that hope, bravery, and humanity endure, and that their impact can ripple far beyond the initial moment of heroism. The courtroom had long since emptied of most spectators, but the reverberations of Lily's testimony, though unconventional, continued to echo in the minds of legal professionals. Judges, clerks, and lawyers debated quietly over coffee in the courthouse cafeteria, reflecting on the unprecedented case. In decades of service, Judge Thompson had seen routine procedural hearings, high-stakes trials, and complex civil litigation, but never a scenario where a toddler's words and a dog's presence could carry such emotional weight. The question now was whether this extraordinary event had any bearing on legal precedent or policy. Legal experts convened in a small conference room later that week to dissect the proceedings. They analyzed the transcripts of Lily's interaction with Rex, questioning whether a 3-year-old's direct address to a police dog could be considered a form of testimony. While it was clear the child's words were not legally binding, they offered insight into her psychological state and the impact of Rex's actions. In essence, they provided context, illustrating how effective humane intervention could aid a child in distress, something rarely addressed in procedural law. Dr. Elaine Martinez, a child psychologist consulted for the case, explained to the assembled attorneys and clerks, Lily's words are a window into her cognitive and emotional experience. Even at 3 years old, children can process fear and relief, and the presence of a calm, trained animal can significantly affect their perception of safety. From a legal standpoint, while her statements cannot constitute formal testimony, they are critical for understanding her well-being. Her words resonated with everyone present, bridging the gap between law, psychology, and public safety. The department's K-9 unit also contributed to the discussion, presenting documentation on Rex's training, prior rescues, and behavioral assessments. Officer Ramirez explained, Rex is trained to detect and locate missing persons, to remain calm in high-pressure situations, and to offer reassurance when possible. In this case, his actions were instrumental, not just in finding Lily, but in helping her remain calm during a frightening experience. The combination of professional insight and psychological analysis highlighted the multidimensional nature of the case. Lawyers debated whether such interactions might influence future legal considerations, particularly in minor cases involving children. One point of discussion centered on how courts might account for the emotional and psychological impact of a trained animal's presence during incidents involving minors. Could therapy or K-9 dogs be integrated into procedural hearings to ensure children felt safe while providing factual information? While no formal policy changes were immediately enacted, experts recognized the potential implications for broader legal practice. Judge Thompson, reflecting on the case, consulted with his colleagues and clerks. While this may not alter legal precedent, he noted, it does highlight the importance of considering emotional context in minor cases, especially those involving children. Justice is not solely about facts. It is also about understanding human experiences and ensuring procedural Fairness includes attention to well-being. His perspective underscored the subtle but profound shift occurring within the legal framework, a recognition that empathy, trust, and psychological support could complement traditional legal procedure. Meanwhile, discussions arose regarding media coverage and public perception. Lawyers and department officials reviewed press reports to ensure the story was portrayed accurately, emphasizing that the emotional bond between Lily and Rex, while compelling, did not affect the legal outcome. Press releases were carefully worded, acknowledging both the heroic actions of the K-9 unit and the importance of child safety, while avoiding any implication that Lily's words had legal authority. The balance between public fascination and procedural integrity required careful attention. The unusual nature of the case also prompted discussions within the police department. Officer Ramirez and his colleagues debated how to document similar incidents in the future. Should interactions between children and K-9 units be formally recorded for reference, not for legal purposes, but for psychological and procedural review? It became clear that cases like Lily's could inform training protocols, helping officers manage high-stress situations involving minors more effectively. Every detail from the dog's demeanor to the child's reactions was now considered valuable knowledge. Child advocacy organizations took notice as well. They highlighted how the story could be used to advocate for safer protocols, more comprehensive training, and the inclusion of emotional support resources in cases involving minors. Recommendations included designating trained officers or therapy animals to accompany children during questioning or investigation, thereby reducing trauma and ensuring more accurate accounts. Legal scholars argued that while the courtroom drama had been unconventional, it served as a case study for integrating human and animal considerations into child safety policy. Despite the legal debates, the human element remained central. Lily's words had reminded everyone in the courtroom of a simple but profound truth. Bravery and gratitude are not confined by age, and courage can manifest in unexpected ways. Officer Ramirez often reflected on the subtle signals Rex displayed during the incident: the lowered ears, calm posture, and attentive gaze, all of which helped Lily feel secure. The teen realized that while legal implications were important, the emotional intelligence displayed in that small courtroom moment was equally significant. Months after the hearing, the case became a reference point in seminars, law school courses, and professional conferences. Child psychologists, legal scholars, and law enforcement officers discussed the implications of non-traditional interactions in minor cases. Could K-9 units or therapy animals be utilized in courtrooms or during investigations? How should a child's emotional responses, even those expressed verbally to an animal, be incorporated into understanding trauma without compromising procedural integrity? While there were no definitive answers, the case had sparked meaningful discussion across multiple disciplines. The media continued to revisit the story, often framing it in terms of heroism, trust, and compassion. National outlets highlighted the profound bond between Lily and Rex, while experts discussed the broader lessons about child psychology and law enforcement practices. Letters and emails poured into the police department from across the country, with citizens praising the K-9 unit and asking how similar programs could be implemented in their own communities. What had begun as a local incident now had national resonance. Back in the community, Officer Ramirez and Rex continued their work, aware that their actions had inspired broader conversations. They received invitations to speak at schools, community centers, and police training seminars, sharing insights on child safety, K-9 deployment, and emotional support. Each presentation emphasized the importance of preparedness, empathy, and responsiveness, showing that procedural excellence could coexist with compassion and understanding. Ultimately, the legal considerations surrounding the case acknowledged a profound reality. The courtroom and legal system exist not just to determine facts, but to recognize and respond to human experiences. Lily's words to Rex did not alter the outcome of the procedural review, but they highlighted the importance of considering emotional context, child well-being, and the broader impact of human-animal interactions. Judge Thompson reflected privately, sometimes the law is enhanced not by precedent, but by perspective. Officer Ramirez often revisited the courthouse, sometimes to testify in unrelated cases, sometimes simply to check on the procedural follow-up. Each time, he would glance at the empty witness stand and think of Lily, recalling the way her small voice had filled the space with courage, clarity, and trust. Rex, ever faithful, would sit beside him quietly, aware that the bond formed in that courtroom had gone far beyond the immediate rescue. It had influenced the way professionals thought about law, safety, and humanity. By the time the official report was filed, it included not just facts and procedures, but also a note on the psychological and emotional impact of the interaction between Lily and Rex. This subtle inclusion, though not legally binding, provided guidance for future cases, demonstrating the value of considering human and animal factors in child-related incidents. The story had become more than an unusual courtroom moment. It was a catalyst for reflection, discussion, and potential policy evolution. In the end, the courtroom, the city, and even the nation had learned something unexpected. Legal procedures, while critical, are enriched when paired with empathy, courage, and understanding. A 3-year-old's words to a dog had illuminated the importance of emotional intelligence, the protective role of animals, and the ways that human experiences extend beyond written law. Lily and Rex had transformed not only their community, but the very way people thought about law, safety, and human connection. Life in the small Texas suburb had changed subtly, yet profoundly. In the months following Lily's encounter with Rex, for Rachel and Tom, the experience had reshaped their understanding of parenthood, trust, and community. They had entered the ordeal as typical parents, preoccupied with schedules and routines, yet the sudden, terrifying disappearance of their 3-year-old daughter had awakened deeper awareness. They now viewed their daughter not just as small and fragile, but as a brave, perceptive individual capable of expressing emotions in ways that could move an entire courtroom. Rachel often recalled the moment Lily had spoken to Rex, the calm confidence in her tiny voice, the clarity of her gratitude. She realized that her daughter's ability to articulate feelings of fear, trust, and relief was extraordinary, and that these traits were fostered by attentive parenting, careful observation, and encouragement of emotional honesty. Rachel began to prioritize open dialogue with Lily, even in ordinary moments, encouraging her to express emotions freely, whether joy, frustration, or concern. The incident had taught her that children's emotional intelligence, if nurtured, could be profound. Tom, meanwhile, found himself reflecting on the fragility of daily life and the importance of presence. The mere seconds that allowed Lily to wander into danger left a lasting impression. He became more attentive, more mindful, not just in watching over his daughter, but in appreciating the fleeting moments of ordinary life. Walks in the park, mealtime conversations, and bedtime stories were now imbued with a heightened sense of connection and awareness. Every laugh, every question, and every hug was cherished, a small act of gratitude for the life-altering lesson the past months had delivered. For Lily, the experience had a transformative effect that no one could have predicted. She had faced fear, been separated from the familiar safety of her home, and yet, through the calm guidance of Rex, she had found courage. Her confidence blossomed in ways that surprised her parents. She began interacting more openly with peers, expressing thoughts and feelings with clarity, and demonstrating a remarkable sense of empathy, even at her young age. The experience of being rescued had not instilled fear, but empowerment, a recognition that trust and connection could help navigate challenges. The bond with Rex, meanwhile, became central to Lily's daily life. She visited the K9 unit regularly, bringing small treats and toys, always careful to greet Rex first. The dog, attentive and calm, seemed to understand the significance of each visit. He responded with quiet acknowledgement, allowing Lily to pet him and communicate her thoughts freely. The interactions reinforced her sense of security, helping her integrate the traumatic experience into a narrative of courage and resilience rather than fear. Community members, too, experienced personal transformation. Witnessing a toddler's bravery and a dog's loyalty shifted perceptions about heroism and empathy. Neighbors began to engage with one another more intentionally, checking in on families, sharing concerns, and supporting each other. Schools incorporated lessons on emotional intelligence, trust, and courage, inspired directly by Lily's experience. Local organizations launched programs pairing children with therapy animals, emphasizing the value of nonverbal communication, compassion, and resilience. The community had grown closer, bonded by a shared recognition of courage in its smallest members. Officer Ramirez and the K9 unit also experienced profound personal shifts. The incident reinforced the importance of patience, observation, and emotional attunement in high-stress situations. Ramirez reflected on how a trained dog could facilitate not just physical safety, but also emotional stability. The department incorporated these lessons into training protocols, emphasizing the role of empathy alongside tactical expertise. Rex's performance had demonstrated the potential for deep emotional resonance, reminding officers that their work often extended beyond procedural duties into the realm of human connection. In the months that followed, Rachel and Tom noticed Lily demonstrating new acts of kindness and thoughtfulness. She comforted younger children at the playground, shared her toys generously, and spoke gently to pets. Mirroring the compassion and trust she had experienced with Rex, her experiences had instilled in her a natural empathy, a sense of responsibility, and an understanding of courage as a form of active, thoughtful engagement with the world. Parents in the neighborhood marveled at her maturity, noting how a single traumatic yet guided experience could shape a child's character in profound ways. The legal and media attention surrounding the case also contributed to a broader societal reflection. While many followed the story for its novelty, a toddler speaking to a police dog in court, the deeper resonance lay in the recognition of human and animal collaboration, courage, and the transformative power of trust. Seminars, conferences, and news segments explored the incident, emphasizing lessons in child psychology, procedural innovation, and community engagement. The personal transformations of Lily, her family, and the K9 unit were amplified, demonstrating that profound change could emerge from even the smallest acts of bravery. For Rachel and Tom, there was a quiet sense of gratitude that extended beyond their daughter's survival. They were thankful for the professionals who acted with skill and care, for the community that supported them, and for the dog whose instincts had guided their child back to safety. Each visit to the K9 unit became an opportunity for reflection and connection, a reminder of the intertwined nature of bravery, trust, and empathy. In many ways, the incident had reshaped their understanding of what it meant to protect, nurture, and raise a child in a complex world. Lily herself, though unaware of the full scale of attention she had garnered, carried a quiet confidence born of experience. She approached new challenges with calm determination, often drawing strength from memories of Rex's unwavering presence. Even in moments of minor frustration or fear, she instinctively sought comfort and guidance, demonstrating an early understanding of emotional regulation. Her personal growth, catalyzed by the incident, reflected the enduring power of trust and reassurance in shaping a young mind. The broader community continued to honor the event through small but meaningful acts. Neighborhood watch programs strengthened, schools maintained therapy animal initiatives, and families shared stories of courage inspired by Lily and Rex. The incident had created a culture of attentiveness, empathy, and mutual support, extending far beyond the confines of the courtroom. What began as a terrifying moment had transformed into a lasting legacy of human connection and moral awareness. Even Officer Ramirez found personal transformation in unexpected ways. Witnessing Lily's courage and the public's response reaffirmed his dedication to his work and highlighted the broader social impact of his role. He became a mentor to other officers, emphasizing that procedural success alone was not enough. Understanding, patience, and emotional awareness were equally critical. Rex, as always, remained at his side, a living testament to the quiet power of loyalty and courage. As months turned into a year, the ripple effects of the incident continued to unfold. Lily's family, neighbors, school communities, and law enforcement all recognized that the experience had irrevocably altered their perspectives. They had learned lessons about bravery, trust, and empathy that could not be captured in reports or statistics, lessons visible in everyday interactions, subtle behaviors, and the strengthened bonds of community. The story of a 3-year-old speaking to a police dog had evolved into a story of collective personal transformation. In the quiet evenings, Rachel often reflected on the journey. She watched Lily play, laugh, and interact with friends, grateful for the resilience her daughter had shown. The fear that had once gripped their hearts had been replaced by admiration and hope. For Tom, every shared smile and small act of kindness from Lily reinforced the truth that courage, empathy, and love could grow from even the most frightening circumstances. Together, their family had been shaped, strengthened, and inspired by the unforgettable partnership between a little girl and a heroic dog. And through it all, Rex remained a constant presence, silent, steadfast, and profoundly impactful. His actions had not only saved a child, but had touched lives, inspired change, and illuminated the quiet power of loyalty, trust, and courage. In the end, the story of Lily and Rex was more than a rescue. It was a testament to the transformative power of bravery, compassion, and the bonds that define human and animal experience. The story of Lily and Rex became more than a local legend. It evolved into a lasting testament to courage, trust, and connection. Months had passed since that fateful day in the backyard, yet the memories continued to ripple through the community. For many, the courtroom scene where a 3-year-old spoke directly to a police dog remained etched in their minds. It was a reminder that heroism does not always roar or shine in headlines. Sometimes it manifests quietly in moments of empathy, patience, and unwavering loyalty. Rachel and Tom often reflected on the journey. Their lives had been irrevocably altered, shaped by fear, relief, and ultimately, inspiration. The initial terror of losing their daughter had transformed into a profound appreciation for the small, extraordinary acts that define human experience. Every day, they observed Lily growing into a child who was fearless yet compassionate, confident yet humble. She had learned, through lived experience, the power of trust and the importance of gratitude. Lily, now older and increasingly aware of her extraordinary story, frequently visited the K-9 unit. Each time, she greeted Rex with a shy but bright smile, patting his head gently, whispering her thanks. The bond between them remained unbroken, a symbol of courage meeting steadfast loyalty. Officer Ramirez observed these visits with quiet pride, realizing that the impact of a single rescue extended far beyond the immediate act. Rex had not only saved a life, he had shaped it, instilling confidence, emotional resilience, and empathy in a young child. The community continued to celebrate the legacy of the event. Schools held special assemblies, highlighting lessons from Lily's bravery and Rex's heroism. Children shared projects about courage, safety, and empathy, often referencing the unforgettable courtroom scene. Local businesses sponsored events to honor the city's canine unit, promoting awareness about the importance of trained service animals in public safety. The story became a teaching tool, inspiring discussions not only about physical safety, but also about emotional intelligence, responsibility, and the value of compassionate action. Even within the police department, the case influenced policy and training. Officer Ramirez helped develop new protocols for interactions between canine units and children, emphasizing patience, observation, and emotional support. Training sessions incorporated simulated scenarios where officers learned to guide children safely while minimizing trauma. Rex himself became a model dog for new recruits, demonstrating that heroism was not measured solely by efficiency or speed, but by calm, attentive care, and the ability to inspire trust. The media attention gradually shifted from immediate news coverage to feature stories exploring the deeper lessons of the incident. National outlets highlighted Lily and Rex as a case study in courage, empathy, and community impact. Experts discussed the psychological importance of supportive, non-threatening guidance during crisis, emphasizing that children could respond to danger with resilience if supported by compassionate intervention. Across the country, schools, parent groups, and law enforcement agencies used the story as a model, promoting programs to foster similar bonds between children and trained service animals. Rachel and Tom often watched their daughter, marveling at the way she now approached life. Her small size belied an inner strength and empathy that touched everyone she encountered. Friends and neighbors frequently commented on how Lily seemed unusually attuned to the emotions of others. Whether comforting a crying peer, noticing a pet's discomfort, or helping a younger sibling navigate fear, her bravery in the backyard, magnified through Rex's intervention, had become a cornerstone of her character, a quiet but unwavering lesson in courage and compassion. The broader community, inspired by the story, embraced an ethos of connection and vigilance. Neighborhood watch programs grew stronger, citizens became more engaged in local safety initiatives, and schools promoted empathy-focused curricula. Letters of support continued to arrive at the K-9 unit, not only praising Rex's heroism, but also acknowledging the ripple effect of Lily's courage. Ordinary citizens began seeing the potential for heroism in everyday life, recognizing that bravery and trust often manifest in the smallest, most unexpected ways. As Lily grew older, she occasionally revisited the story with her parents, asking questions about that day, about Rex, and about the fear she had felt. Rachel and Tom answered patiently, emphasizing the lessons of trust, courage, and gratitude. Rex saved you, Tom explained gently. But you were brave too. You trusted him and faced a scary situation with courage. That's why everyone remembers this day. Lily nodded thoughtfully, internalizing the lesson, understanding that heroism is a partnership, a collaboration of trust, action, and compassion. Officer Ramirez noticed that Rex, too, had changed subtly over the months. The dog carried himself with a quiet confidence, having experienced not only the physical challenge of locating Lily, but also the emotional responsibility of guiding her safely. Other officers remarked on Rex's calm presence, noting that his connection with children seemed almost instinctual. It was clear that the bond forged in that small Texas backyard had left a lasting imprint on both the dog and those around him. The city itself embraced the story as part of its collective identity. Annual community events included K-9 demonstrations, safety workshops, and storytelling sessions where children shared experiences of courage and empathy. Lily, often present at these gatherings, would quietly watch Rex perform, sometimes patting him with the same gentle touch from that unforgettable day. Residents understood that heroism was not confined to headlines. It was lived in acts of trust, care, and steadfastness, often unnoticed yet profoundly impactful. Years later, as Lily entered elementary school, the story remained a source of quiet inspiration. Teachers referenced it when discussing bravery, responsibility, and compassion. Peers, having learned of the incident through stories and school programs, treated her with admiration, not for fame, but for the courage and empathy she exemplified. The courtroom moment, once a singular event, had evolved into a living lesson, shaping character, behavior, and community values long after the initial rescue. Rachel and Tom often reflected on the profound nature of the incident. They had feared for their daughter's life, yet that fear had transformed into a deeper appreciation for courage, connection, and the power of trust. They marveled at the ripple effect of one small child speaking to a dog in a backyard, a moment that had captivated a courtroom, inspired a community, and influenced the lives of countless children and adults. What had begun as fear had blossomed into hope, empathy, and lasting change. Even Judge Thompson, in private reflection, considered the case one of the most remarkable of his career. While procedurally ordinary, the courtroom scene had illuminated extraordinary truths about human emotion, trust, and the value of considering psychological well-being alongside legal process. He shared the story in professional seminars, emphasizing that the law, while rigid in structure, could be enriched by compassion and understanding. The case of Lily and Rex became a touchstone for integrating emotional awareness into practice, showing that even in formal systems, human connections hold immense power. As the years passed, the bond between Lily and Rex remained unbroken. She continued visiting the K-9 unit, quietly patting his head, speaking softly, and learning lessons in responsibility and empathy. Rex, loyal as ever, responded with calm acknowledgement, a steady presence in her evolving life. Together, they symbolized the profound connection that can exist between humans and animals, a reminder that bravery, trust, and love transcend age, size, and circumstance. In the end, the legacy of Lily and Rex was not simply about a rescue, a courtroom, or a viral story. It was about the enduring lessons of courage, empathy, and connection. A child's voice had spoken truth. A dog's presence had provided safety. And a community had witnessed the power of trust and compassion in action. Their story became a beacon, a timeless reminder that heroism and humanity often appear in unexpected forms, leaving an imprint that lasts far beyond the initial moment of fear and rescue. Lily's parents watched with quiet pride as their daughter grew into a courageous, empathetic, and thoughtful young individual. Officer Ramirez continued his service, guided by the lesson that heroism encompasses not only action, but patience, understanding, and connection. Rex, now a celebrated figure in the city, remained steadfast, a symbol of loyalty, courage, and the extraordinary impact a single animal can have on countless human lives. And so, the story of a 3-year-old speaking to a police dog in court became more than an isolated event. It became a legacy, a testament to bravery, compassion, and the quiet power of trust, inspiring generations to come.